So I'm cruising on the highway just before this whole thing happened, thinking to myself, wow, this thing's actually running pretty decent. I'm going about 78. There's not a lot of vibration. I'm like, I'm going to be able to take this thing on some road trips this year. And then the cursed Camaro was like, what are you thinking? Get back into reality, Bart. So that's all jacked up. You can see that flat spot. That's where the rim basically ran across the highway for a couple hundred feet. Then I had to walk a couple hundred feet just to find that piece. So that piece is complete garbage. As for the tire, tell me if this is normal. I've hated these rims from day one. The guy ended up hitting a curb, the guy that I bought the car from. Two of the rims are kind of dented up. I cleaned them up as much as I could. You can see how much metal is actually missing right in that area. And then on this side, same thing. That side's a lot more noticeable. I'm finally going to get an alignment on this thing because this car pulls to the right like no other. Well, a couple days ago it pulled heavily to the left, but that was due to a tire missing. And I got these even more sketchy tires on now, and they are in bad shape. I stored them in the shed, and when I went looking for them, one of them had actually blown up in the shed by itself with no weight on it. So yeah, they're sketchy. But the plan is that garbage that's on there is going to be removed and replaced with 17s. So a couple days ago, I'm sitting here removing the old junk tires off the cursed Camaro, and I was using the impact, and this thing turned on. Alright, so I got to the bottom of this compressor deal. Check this out. So I took the belt off. Runs real nice. The problem is, it smokes from the belt, so the belt's getting caught up. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there's our problem. So here's the deal. 2 years old. You got this bracket, right? Let's call it the motor mount. And you got this case for the actual electric motor. This weld broke. That's ridiculous. So what do we do here? Well, I can buy a new one, which makes no sense at all. Or I can remove this thing and pop a weld right there. That would be the simplest thing to do. So to start with, I got to remove this pulley because this plastic shroud piece is in the way. I'll either undo the wiring here or in here. I got to pop that panel off and see how it's connected. Ridiculous, you know? A simple weld shouldn't be failing 2 years in. That's just poor craftsmanship. Look at this thing. Alright, let me rephrase that. There's 8 welds. So the game plan is to take this guy with that guy and redrill all these holes and re-weld it. Once these plug welds are welded, it should hold up. Unlike from the factory here. Safety first. Or safety after the third hole. Alright, you didn't see that. I don't know what you're talking about. So this piece is all prepped. Alright, this should show you how poor these welds are. So I just ground this area down. I barely even needed to put pressure on this thing. So for spots like this or like that one right there, check this out. There's absolutely no penetration. It didn't even touch that metal. I'm surprised that this thing actually lasted as long as it did. Alright, back to grinding. Well, that's probably like the only one that's somewhat penetrated, because you can tell that that actually broke once that bracket pulled off. That's horrible. Alright, so as far as welding this thing, I think I'm going to leave this thing together. I started kind of pulling it apart, but I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm going to be creating more problems for myself if I do. There's about a ½ inch gap in there. Oh, you might be able to see it right there. That's basically where I'm going to be welding. And as far as the actual copper wires, they're right in front there. So I think I might be able to get away with it. As long as I'm in and out real quick, I think it should be okay. So yeah, I guess I will at this point get this thing painted. Maybe I'll scuff this whole piece off and just paint it all. Alright, time to fire up that welder. It's all good to go. So I would give my welds an A+ if it was on a reverse grading scale. That's probably the nicest weld. Here's the issue, and I never thought it was going to be an issue until today. I'm using a 140 Lincoln MIG, which has been great. But for something that thick, which is right around 12 gauge, it can't handle it. Plus I'm running .023 wire for sheet metal, so it definitely does not like that. I could have just swapped out that wire for flux core, but nobody's got time for that. Come on, baby. I got it all back together, and my compressor works again.